one thing, you know, the solo laners of BLG, they are fearsome to say the least, and we'll see what G2 can cook up this time around. Of course, getting deeper and deeper into Fearless, so maybe we get a little bit more spicy.
Yeah, when BLG had 10 kills last game, 7 were Bin and 3 were Knight. And the other 3 guys were along for the ride, just having a good time on the road trip. So these solo
was having a good time. He was action-packed, constantly going in.
Man, the support Shen made it happen. The only time Bin died the whole game was the solo death to BrokenBlade up there in the top lane. So even though BB did slow down that Mbessa early on with the solo kill, with the outplay, it wasn't enough to stop him from running wild. As now, G2 is going to focus the support role here again. It's Karma, Bard, and Jarvan banned out by G2. 2 out of 3 of those are the same as game number 1. It's just they replaced the Varus with the Bard. Over on the other side, BLG taking out Orianna, Ryze, and Rumble. Yet again, G2 selected first pick. BLG picked blue side.
So I have pretty big, you know, priority on Pantheon. I know I'm really focused on jungle usually, but Pantheon looks really, really powerful here with Xin and Vigon already early. Jarvan out as well. It just provides so many things. You can build a lot of comps around point and click CC as well as the semi-global. There's your Varus flowers. You know, it gets
explains
dropped.
why they didn't ban it.
Yeah, it gets dropped, and so you immediately are going to get the pickup. You know, G2 opt to ban the Ryze again instead. The Orianna and Ryze will stay banned. And this time around, going to get the common Sivir here picked up. So
your
nothing,
average everyday Sivir.
Nothing too crazy yet. Yeah, pretty common answer here. Focus on the minion wave. You have your spell shield to keep you safe. And Alistar, another initiation champion here for On to get the action started as well as get the peel. I mean, with spell shield and an Alistar bodyguard, already showing some pretty good protection here for Viper for BLG.
Yep, and we'll see how the laning phase goes for them. You can see this Neeko
It's about to get worse.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Neeko hover right now, Varus is already obviously a very powerful laner. Neeko is a very powerful laner too. Alistar is also a champion in the game.
Yeah,
so
Sivir
it's not going to be fun.
On the minion wave, you know? We focus on the minion wave here. We clear the minions out. It's the farming. But yeah, Varus Neeko, one of the most fearsome bottom lanes. So G2 have decided, hey, let's go bot prio. Try this.
Ooh, the SkewMond special. Dr. Mundo locked in.
SkewMdo?
SkewMdo?
Skundo?
Dr. SkewMdo locked in for the European representatives.
The SkewMondo. Ah, that's kind of cooler.
There we go. All right, the SkewMondo.
SkewMondo attack. All right. It's a special, as he said, for him. You know, adopted it really, really early on, and we'll see about that scaling. Ooh, shouldn't some carry jungle action here with the Nefiri would be fun, but not quite yet. And the Pantheon that I was looking at so heavily just goes all the way through. Plenty of other options here, and they decide to go with the Gnar. Gnar, very versatile top lane, so feels very, very safe picking it here. But I'll say, versus BrokenBlade, he cooks, man. You could get a Yasuo up there. You could get some counter picks that really focus on trying to kill Gnar when he's mini form.
Well, remember in game number 1, the second half of the draft for BLG was banning out responses to the Mbessa that they picked on what I believe was, again, their 3rd pick. And we're seeing what could be a similar story here. However, they do have to pivot a little bit. When you draft Alistar and Sylas isn't banned, Sylas loves stealing Unbreakable Will, so they're immediately going to ban that Sylas away, make sure he can't be the raid boss that they cannot actually have the gear for. So that's banned out by the BLG side as Ahri is removed by G2.
And you can play Sylas into Gnar as well, so some double effectiveness there. Depending on what G2, how deep do they want to go into the dark magic picks? Let's see. Keeping away Knight's Ahri. Yes.
Never a bad idea.
Never a bad idea. Thing is with Knight, is like he literally
he's got a lot of good stuff.
You can't really ban him out, and Azir's not even very good anymore. So, they did snipe it. They also mentioned
they're banning out the pocket pick, the respect given to BrokenBlade. It's one of those classic solo queue counters that you almost never see in pro play, but BrokenBlade is one of the rare players that is willing to just say, no, I will slam it down. If I can beat you on ladder, I can beat you on LAN. Yep. And he's not going to get the opportunity here. So let's see. Does G2 want to try to double ban against Knight here in the mid lane, or do they have other ideas? It will be another target on Knight's back. The LeBlanc banned away.
Okay, whittle down a little bit more on the effective champ pool. As we said, though, a Knight's pool goes about as deep as it can go.
Okay,
what do we got? Beat around it. Honestly, they're already like their first three are really versatile, so they're not kind of like pinned down in any one direction.
Well, this
I did like this, though.
This would be what you were talking about earlier, right? How this is one of the premier jungle champions right now, especially when you're up against an immobile AD carry like Varus. If you ever find the opportunity to make a play, even early on in the lanes, or even once people start grouping, if you can get a good angle on the back line onto the Varus, it's so hard for him to deal with Pantheon just crashing down on top of his head. And okay, this is a front line for the G2 composition. Mundo and Sion probably, I would have to say, like, the two tankiest champions in the game. Like, I would probably put them at number 1 and 2. I don't know which one's which.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
they're,
you could, like, people can make arguments, but you've got a good, that's a good couple picks there, Flowers.
I would feel pretty strong supporting this, right? So yeah, it's a massive, massive wall.
Yeah.
And you were talking about Knight's deep pool of champions, Knight Syndra, one of his most well-known, well-respected, and damn well-feared picks in the Syndra.
And Flowers, it's with the Pantheon, point and click stun.
Oh, no.
Knight's already good at hitting his Syndra stuns, but you can make it extra good here. He's also really good at, like, hiding his Syndra orbs in terrain and stuff like that, and is playing a lot of mind games and getting, like, multi-angle double stuns off and stuff. So it should be fun watching this one. There is a possibility always, though, when you see this champion, Syndra, why it's not more prevalent is it doesn't have mobility, of course. And so you can try and put pressure on Syndra and attack it. Mundo, obviously, when your passive is up, you can try and just run straight through and land some slows on her. And if you've got an Aurora, too, that's some good burst damage. So you can try and attack it, try and attack Knight, and see what happens.
We'll see how well it works, because BLG's plan for a lot of the early game last game, they put so much pressure onto Caps. It felt like we never really got to see the big flash Tibbers moment from Caps' Annie. His splash was always under pressure from all the arrows from Viper. There was a lot of attention paid towards him. Once Knight got the lead, it was impossible for the Annie to really deal with the Galio in any sort of a situation. So maybe if G2 can return that favor, that could be the secret sauce to tying up this series. Remember that game number 1 was really close for a really long time. It was about a 1,000 gold lead for a significant part of the game, but then the bin triple kill. That kind of just ripped the game open.
And guess what? Sion's not going to do much to slow down Gnar, bro.
Probably not.
BrokenBlade's just on tank duty, it seems like, this series. It seems like G2's call is, all right, just be our front line, and we'll try and win some team fights later. Honestly, it's not a bad call versus BLG to just say, hey, we are going to pick tanky, and we're going to try to outplay you in 5-on-5s, because that has been a way to attack BLG. BLG are so good in skirmishes and when you're trying to challenge their solo laners. But if you try and opt to, okay, we're just going to get some tanks, some front line, and try and 5-on-5 you, then that's a worthy call. But in the current scenario, and after experiencing the previous game, you have to wonder what type of heroics Bin's going to go for this time around.
Well, we're already getting the 2v2 battling at level 1 down here in the bottom lane. As you would pretty much expect this to go, everybody wants to fight for that early priority, that early control, and it is BLG ticking level 2 first. Both of our junglers are starting on the top half of the map. We'll be pathing towards bottom side, so every summoner spell, every low health bar will be that much more juicy if a jungler can get his hands on it.
Yeah, certainly will. And again, we have, we have wards, Raptor ward for G2, so they are going to see the timing for Shun on Raptors here. So
okay.
They'll have basically perfect timing on Shun's clear. Even though Shun is pulling the Raptors into the brush there, they'll see that they are dead, and so they can work around this. Mundo, of course, very quick clear and wants to keep up the power farm, wants to scale.
Okay, so Viper and On have the push, have the control here in the bottom lane. And I feel like when you're an Alistar against Varus and Neeko, having the push in bottom lane, you're feeling great.
Yeah, Viper's doing a good job here, bouncing damage off the wave onto them. So some really good value there, and they actually forced the recall out of Labrov really early on. They forced the heal, and now they're going to force more.
They go after Hans Sama, the flash away from Hans, but the flash follow from On. It'll be a 1-for-1, but it is first blood over to BLG, and it is the AD carry on G2 that dies. Hans will at least be the one, of course, that gets that kill back. BLG would have preferred to have the first blood onto Viper, but still, they're going to kill Hans off. They're going to get this wave shoved up forward. SkewMond's coming around down bottom, though, and if they get this kill onto Viper, that's going to feel really good. Viper is in some danger now, and surely there is no way out for this Sivir. Just going to walk into the turret, and SkewMond even flashes to make sure he's the one who gets the kill.
SkewMondo is getting paid, Flowers. Okay, so big ups to BLG's bottom lane. They forced out the heal and the back. On says, you know what? Since I'm flashing for this and dying for this, I am going to get the kill. I'm going to punch you for the extra money for first blood. It is a bigger deal when supports steal the first blood kill also,
right.
Flowers, even more so. Plus, since you always want Sivir scaling as quickly as possible, obviously that would be ideal for him to get it. But, you know, they're under tower aggro, and the tower is already heating up. On, though, might die again.
Yeah, On is in a pretty precarious situation. Has to try to get away from Caps and Labrov, as the Aurora only needs one more shot to take him out. Scatter the Weak tries to make the distance, but the twofold Hex finds its mark. G2 is up 3-1.
On, you do not get to go wherever you please.
Not as a level 3 Alistar.
I mean, it's especially when you already use your flash aggressively to make a play on bottom side. You have to be a little bit more patient, but his objective is to get this really deep vision. But, you know, you oftentimes are going to have to sync up with your jungler, especially if you don't have flash anymore. And enemy has roam timer also, so you've got some something to answer for there, because now Caps did invest his flash, but Aurora with money is also more scary.
Oh yeah, you're happy to use the flash to get that little bit of extra acceleration early on. 700 gold lead for G2, punishing this aggro from BLG, and you can see once again, it's SkewMond hanging around down here in the bottom lane, level 5 on the Mundo, about halfway towards level 6. As On and Viper are going to need to be careful. BLG got to make sure they don't get too excited, but the control over this bottom lane for Hans and Labrov means that SkewMond can start this Drake up very early. This is a very similar timer to what we saw Shun do in game number 1. However, Shun is also down around this part of the map, level 5 on the Pantheon. But Caps has rotated over to the Drake. Shun might try to steal it away with a Comet Spear, hope that SkewMond this time with a Smite or something, but it doesn't look like this is really a fightable angle for the BLG side, and the Dragon goes the way of G2 here nice and early, just like game number 1, right about 5.5 minutes in.
Yeah, good stuff here, G2 first Drake. I mean, if you're tracking Mundo games, being able to just full clear, grab a kill, and then full clear and grab a Dragon, it's looking pretty good for the efficiency here for the businessmen. Yeah. Oh, he's capitalized the M as well. I love this. SkewMondo is only one letter away. Wait a second. The Scuttle Crab, though. BLG saying that's not your crab.
Yeah, they're even bringing in a teleport for this. Shun takes away one of the honey fruits.
It is my crab.
It's only On's teleport, but they steal it away. This is the power of Syndra. Every jungler has had to deal with this before from Syndra, where she just yoinks the crab away and hand feeds it to her jungler instead. And that means it's very easy for Shun to be the first one to level 6, but SkewMond will immediately hit level 6 right after. So both junglers now, it's a different type of playmaking that these ultis enable. Shun's is obviously the traditional type where you can get active on the map from a long distance away, but SkewMond's enables some pretty audacious dives or big risky plays with the tankiness that will provide there for Dr. Mundo. As Knight Syndra does have a small CS lead over Caps' Aurora, but considering Caps has been roaming around towards the Dragon, towards that fight that was down there to catch On earlier and give him that first kill, he's still got the gold lead himself. Only gold lead right now on the map for BLG is the top lane for Bin over BrokenBlade with that Gnar.
Yeah, been doing quite nice. Ooh, gets the wave and some damage.
Feels good about that. And here comes Shun. This is another one of those ultis, just like the Shen ulti in game number 1. Pantheon's Grand Starfall needs to find success on first usage. Otherwise, you're feeling pretty bad. And there they go. Meanwhile, back over in the mid lane, On could be the target here yet again. Hansama and SkewMond are not close enough to really do a whole lot here, as On and Knight are going to continue retreating back into their own jungle. You can see Labrov walking up as fake caps, but I don't think BLG are going to fall for that one after they got their freebie in the top side.
Yeah, I mean, you know Pantheon's on top side, just ulted up there, and he's going to be clearing down, so SkewMond is trying to make him pay for that gank. He's trying to make him pay for BrokenBlade's life and get this whole red quadrant, so G2 at least can get some value there, but looks like BLG are going to say, fine, that's an easy payment. We'll make that payment, and we will purchase the Void Grubs.
Pay out the card, no interest, not worried about that. Void Grubs are the point of contention here for Shun. So we're actually seeing the exact opposite story of the junglers in terms of objectives from game number 1. One gets the dragon 5.5 minutes into the game. The other one gets a handful of consolation grubs a couple minutes later.
Plus, bonus, buy 3, get 1 BrokenBlade free. Because you have to count.
Ooh, that's a deal.
Yeah, you got to count that kill that they got onto the Sion as part of the payment too. That's part of the investment in the top side of the map. You know my stance since the beginning of the season on the new grubs, though, Flowers. Obviously, they are nerfed and not good. They're nerfed. They're not worth much. Pretty sad.
Hey, they're worth money. You can kill them like they're wolves.
Yeah, they're worth less money than they used to. But Dragon, of course, you know, the Mountain Drake is going to always be really nice for this G2 squad. Wait a second. Is this going to result in anything on I'm looking at the bottom side also.
Okay.
And we just had on recall. So you always want to track your you know, support resets out of, oh, a nice little ping there from G2 also. They're questioning where On is going to go. They're like, hey, On is kind of crazy with it, so he might not go back bottom lane, and we'll see. There could be a support roam, but now he's going to show bottom lane. They'll know, all right, everywhere is safe. And Labrov does the same thing. You reset out of base, go down mid lane first. You don't do the exact same thing, though, because Labrov turned into a minion. Let's see if he actually takes the minion line down mid lane. Nah, he's not going to do it.
Okay, you can see it's BrokenBlade arriving back to the top side. Sion ulti so useful for getting back into the lane and clearing out the wave at the same time. Bin uses the Gnar to just slam BrokenBlade into the wall, give himself time to jump away as SkewMond was showing up here in the top side. But the problem is, Sion and Mundo, they both can kind of just walk at you once Sion's ulti is used. So for someone with the mobility of Gnar, you can get out of that one pretty easily. Shun just about has his ult ready to go. He does have that cooldown ready once more. First Grand Starfall was a success. I'm curious where the second one is going to go. Only 10 seconds on the clock until the Infernal Drake spawns. So I feel like if BLG is interested in that at all, Grand Starfall is probably going to be used to either set up for that or be used directly in a fight for that.
And Bin has his Trinity Force, so Bin does big damage. Trinity Force completed quite early on the Gnar. Doesn't have teleport though, so this dragon is safe from Bin interfering. No teleport, so it should just be a G2 dragon. Oh, wait a second, some pings? Do they actually? There were a lot of blue pings here from BLG. Maybe they were like, hey, if you see an angle on, you can Alistar combo and I'll Pantheon ult, but since there is no real good angle, they decide not to do the play at Dragon yet and just go for a lane hover from Shun. SkewMond, of course, though, you got to remain efficient on Mundo. He has done so. Look at his farm. Now he's looking to pass by Knight.
Okay. Knight, however...
Is he just going to cross, though? He's waiting
Cap's
teleport. He's waiting Cap's teleport.
Down here on the bottom side, it's Labrov just getting bursted down. The patience from BLG's jungler pays off. They get a free kill on the enemy support, and they'll be happy with that one. With him out of the picture, it's easy for Viper to just get this wave shoved up. Yeah,
good use of your dead time while your camps are down. He actually, after going for that play, doesn't go for his Krugs instead. He's dropping his Krugs again to pressure mid.
You got to turn your dead time into their dead time. But a different kind of dead time, my friend.
I like that.
And Shun is good at making that dead time. As SkewMond now has to be careful about trying to approach the river. BLG still have control. Labrov is back out onto the map now. SkewMond's Mundo does have his Heart Steal completed, so wants to try to get some stacks on that one. On, however, down to about half HP. Immediately going to pop the Unbreakable Will, the burst down onto the Mundo, but it's not what BLG wanted. SkewMond is tanking all the way through it with a maximum dosage, but Shun finally secures the kill. BrokenBlade arrives to the fight, but the Chains of Corruption won't find a target. Shun does die. Viper looking for the damage here on the Cap. Labrov wants to get away, but Bin picks him up. BrokenBlade needs a blast cone to get the hell out of town, and Caps is just barely walking away from Viper. The Sivir has a flash, but he's not going to spend it because Caps has escaped thus far. On doesn't have a flash to try to go for the headbutt pulve combo.
Get that
and
wave.
The fight goes the way of BLG.
Okay. There's a little bit of extra burn at the edge, but honestly, yeah, okay. When both top laners join Flowers, you'd rather have Bin, right?
Yep, I think I'm gonna go for Bin. I think I'm gonna go for the Gnar with a 1,500 gold lead.
Yeah, Trinity Force was completed, and that teleport we were talking about, it did come off cooldown. But look at the way they start out this fight. So SkewMond walks up, and he's trying to tank as much as he can. Then we get pretty good avoidance of Labrov's ulti from Knight. Knight's spacing was quite good. On even survived. And then even with Chains of Corruption going wide, still enough damage for G2 with their bursty comp here to get their kill. But was an answer here for Bin as he's able to chase down another. Let's see what they do in the aftermath. Caps, though, of course, was still able to survive, so at least they did get him out. But this BLG lead, 1.3K now, the gold lead.
And I'm still just so curious about how these timers are mirroring game one so much with the neutral objectives, because we're also going to have such a similar story where the Rift Herald spawns and then the third Drake spawns about 1 minute after. Remember that favored BLG in the previous game? They were able to grab the Herald, no contest from G2. They then used a combat type of Herald with Labrov driving, or not Labrov, excuse me, with On driving it towards the enemy team in one of the team fights around the Drake after. Scatter the Week comes out from Han Sama. Coinbase Gold Grind, keeping track of our top laners there, looking at Bin's advantage. 2,000 individual gold lead is so scary to have to deal with. And Kobe, you already mentioned that Trinity Force, but I feel like you mentioned it a long time ago. So yeah. Bin's pockets must be feeling pretty heavy right about now.
Yeah, he probably has a lot of cash because they took the whole turret on top side afterwards too. So first turret bonus for BLG for Binny Boy, Mr. Rich Boy. Hans, though, the Varus did get the kill onto Shun, I believe, in the scrap down on the bottom side. And so that was the second kill for Hans. So the Varus with a nice little lead here. Poke Varus, always nice little power spike pretty early on. And again, even though there's not going to be a lot of like DPS later for G2, they construct these team comps pretty clearly in this series in a very similar way. They want tanky frontline to be able to fight mid-game team fights versus BLG. And so that's why it's very important. Stack your dragons, don't miss your dragon timers, and see you can get your 5-on-5 versus BLG at the Drake and continue stacking.
And you see part of that individual gold lead disappear there for Hans over Viper because Viper was the last player on BLG to complete his individual quest, which of course just gives a bag of money if you're an AD carry. The only player left on the map so far who does not have his quest completed is Caps' Aurora, who has now also fallen behind Knight in terms of individual gold. Knight's farm is much, much higher at this point. 160 versus 136 is 4 waves worth of minions. Of course, Syndra does have the extra range over Annie as On finds the right angle on the blast cone to be able to escape from Labrov and SkewMond. Knight aware of SkewMond's position, but he knows he's got help nearby, so he's not really afraid of the wraparound from the G2 jungler. Caps gets caught out by On. Scatter the Weak, ready to follow it up, but SkewMond creates space. Caps with the defensive ulti. On tries to get away now with the Unbreakable Will. There's your cleanse coming out from the Alistar to make sure that he does not get caught, as Bin has also showed up to the fight here on the Gnar. This will be third Drake for G2 if they can secure it. Bin's going to go ahead and take his recall as SkewMond has started up the Dragon with the rest of G2 right behind him. BLG going to bring Bin right back into the fight now as Shun takes about 40% of his HP in damage. G2 should just be able to secure the objective, and they've got it. But now On wants to use that Combat Herald. He knocks the CC immunity off of the Mundo, but Bin gets stopped trying to jump in. Meanwhile, On's behind enemy lines. There's no way he survives this. Shun, Knight, and Viper chasing after the tanks on G2. Never mind, I made a liar. On gets away. Nicely done from the support. But the big winners in this scuffle are G2, who have secured soul points. It doesn't look like we're done here just yet. They know Bin has no Gnar bar. They're looking to go in after the most fed member here on BLG. But a nice punch from On knocks them away. The Alistar is barely hanging on, and SkewMond grabs the kill. Dr. Mundo's trying to get out, and he lives to see another day. Everybody on G2 still alive. Low health bars on BLG here as well, though. Labrov gets chunked by a boomerang blade. Shun dodges away from the Comet, smites down the Crab. Knight finds a scatter the weak, but it's only onto the Sion. Caps has his ulti back up, but no! It's been! Time and time again, it's been! Shun wants another one. Labrov tries to escape. Shun with a defensive shield. And BLG, right when it looked like G2 found a sequence that was so favorable, there was so much in their side. It's been, man. It's always been.
It has been the eternal nightmare of G2. Okay, good headbutt, as you mentioned, from On to try and delay this engage, but SkewMond still goes for it. Really nice from him. He knows he has his flash to escape on low health as Mundo. So G2, they found value out of their poke. But again, as BLG are dispersing, Bin says, I'm not done with this play. I'm not done with you yet, G2. He kills Caps, he kills SkewMond, he keeps the play going. Shun ults in over the top. And again, BLG had started to disperse. Knight gone back towards mid lane. And Bin sees another angle, he sees another opportunity. He's so rich. Again, double items here. Black Cleaver completed and some.
Bin is the definition of I didn't hear no bell. If there's still a fight to be had, he's gonna have that fight. 4,000 gold lead, shrunk back down to about 3,500 now for BLG. However, G2 still has an ace up their sleeve. They have a Dragon Soul if they can secure the next dragon 2.5 minutes from now. So when I'm looking at them, I want to see them preparing for that. I want to see them there ahead of time. And when you look at the scoreboard, Kobe, there's one number that's very different from the other 4 numbers. Everything for G2 comes down to playing around Bin. You've got to walk away when the Gnar bar's full. You've got to try to find an opportunity when it runs out, because if Bin has his way, those fights are gonna get ugly.
And he is. He's going to have his way. Even if everybody else is walking out, getting out of there. Yeah, there you go. There's some
that's a good visual representation. Or brain sync, right there, mind melt. Yeah, that one bar is larger than all of the other bars put together. That is some scary stuff. SkewMond,
the bin bar.
The bin bar, the big bin bar. Viper taking some burst there, twofold hex plus the weirding from Caps knocks the enemy AD carry down below half HP. SkewMond also with his Dead Man's Plate on this Mundo. Remember that Dead Man's, you only lose the speed when you auto attack, so you can just chase with briefcases forever. On goes in, however, with the Unbreakable Will. Bin with the hop over the wall, but there's not much Gnar bar here. Knight goes for a scatter of the weak, but he will not scatter anyone. Does get tagged with a piercing arrow on the very tip of it. So that's the ulti from On, spent for a whole lot of nothing really, but he will have the cooldown back available for the Dragon fight.
Dragons, again, as we said, for this comp, for G2, you got to get the Dragon Soul. You have to get the Dragon Soul. Everything coming down to this next minute. And the best way, Flowers, to get Dragon Souls is get there really early. They have vision already, so try and get some priority here, some setup, especially when you have tools to make picks. You've got a Neeko, you've got poke Varus. You want to get poke damage, you want to get little chunks early, but they're just not in position. BLG moving in, and they're wiping out your vision. Nobody is here from G2 to get early pokes. SkewMond's doing his best, throw some briefcases.
Yep.
And honestly, Empowered Scryer's Bloom do a lot. So Empowered Scryer's Bloom could just kind of wipe that out as well for G2. So that is very nice. Bin looking in, coming from the river, bottom side, got to be aware.
Look at Labrov's flash timer as well. It's going to be up by the time the dragon spawns. So that could be a big playmaking opportunity. Shun's flash also going to be available. Bin's critically will not. If this dragon fight happens right as it spawns, the Gnar flash will still have a little bit of time left on the cooldown, as will the Mundo. On goes in, flash into the pulverized headbutt backwards onto Caps. The Aurora's already dead, as Bin's in the middle of everybody. Knight staying alive against BrokenBlade, and Bin is just buying time. Now both of that front line, excuse me, both those solo laners are dead on the G2 side. It's a double kill for Shun's Pantheon, and right when G2 needed a clutch, BLG and on that trigger pull find exactly the way to guarantee that they can't.
Woo, BLG have 2 excellent solo laners as well. Knight here, scatter the weak Flowers. Oh my goodness, they get the dragon without a fight. Look at this initiation. All right, they go through, boom, Knight sets it up, and everybody immediately follows. Scatter the weak, into the Pantheon Stun, into the Alistar combo. Guess what? Caps is dead. Caps is dead, and he also was able to knock off the Mundo passive with that. Just, yeah, look, even EU reps, you have to be like, all right, they're good.
Yeah, that was just clean.
All right, they're good.
The scatter the weak into the follow-up from on. Just beautiful stuff there for the BLG squad. Up 4,500 gold now. And now they've got 4 more minutes where they don't have to worry about a G2 win condition being what they have to deal with.
And Caps flashed. And his Aurora. Like, they just nailed him.
That was really impressive coordination there. However, taking a look at the scoreboard once again, just because every time we have a big moment, I like to check in on what still could be, you know, the X factor for the G2 side. You still have an individual gold lead on Hansama. You've got the Muramana.
Oh, this could be big.
Ben gets caught. Yeah, nice pick. G2, they find exactly what they needed. The kill onto Ben. Now, can they turn it into anything more? Of course, it's great to get a pick onto the Fed enemy player, but what else does it lead to?
I mean, it definitely leads to a good amount of shutdown money into the hands of Hansama, but here's the follow-up.
G2 wants to go for more. On trying to disengage, knocking SkewMond away. Caps has made his way forward. Shun with the stun onto the G2 mid laner. G2 continuing to pile in here, but they won't really find an angle on anyone here just yet. Scatter the weak hits 2. BLG still defending. They've got 10 seconds until Bin's back up, and he has his teleport, so G2 can't try to turn this into a Baron or anything crazy like that. They wanted to use the opportunity to find additional kills, maybe translate that into a major objective with the Baron afterwards, but BLG successfully exfiltrates. Now, though, Shun going in after Labrov, wants some damage onto the Neeko defensive Pop Blossom, but it just means the weak are scattered. Bin's made his way into the fight now, but he's down to 400 HP. On jumps forward, but there's nobody ready to follow up just yet. Viper's now finally joined the mix as Ben has the Gnar bar charged, and Hansama is all the way out. Only the front line still stands on G2, but the wall has no archers. They will crumble in front of the BLG squad. That's 4 dead G2 players, and BLG are in their flow state.
So smart from BLG to extend the play, because even the very beginning, the pick that they had gotten, the shutdown on Ben, Hans had not gotten to reset because G2 had tried to make the play really long and chase down more kills. They hadn't even spent that shutdown money, and BLG know, with our teleport coming up on Ben, we just have to keep this play going. We have to chase them. As long as we don't let them out of our sight, we continue the play, we will be rewarded. So they do that. They chase them all the way from their own base, by the way. You mentioned the early timer there on it, and they focus the Neeko. They absolutely destroy him. Shun started it out, and the Knight also helps him finish that. And even though Ben has to teleport in on mini Gnar and takes a significant amount of damage, it doesn't matter because the rest of the squad can chase forward and bulldoze them.
And they feel so good chasing after him too, because Viper's just flashing over the wall. He's attacking both carries. They focus Hans first because Caps has no mana. Aurora without mana? Cool. It's a cannon minion with bunny ears. They knew they had everything they needed to force that play all the way, and now they're 6,000 gold ahead. And Kobe, it's going from bad to worse because the next Drake is spawning here in a minute. They've still got the Baron for the next 2 minutes on BLG's side. It'll be so difficult for G2 to try to contest this.
Yeah. And you could see the reasoning for both sides. You know, G2's like, oh, we just got a shutdown. We killed Ben. We took off the big gold lead on the map, so we gotta get more. Let's teleport and try and get a pick. But because BLG evade that play and then are able to extend the play of their own, now you're in a scenario where this gold lead is not just Ben. This gold lead is also Shun and Knight. And Knight has been crushing it all game long. You mentioned his lane phase. He was absolutely blasting. Then he got, wait a second.
Flash Pop Blossom, but no. It's Knight stopping Labrov once more. His Syndra is feared for a reason. He's immediately ready to react. And that is one of the biggest playmakers, game changers, X factors, whatever you want to call it for the G2 side. No flash pop blossom on Neeko is going to make what's already a difficult fight to try to find the angle nearly impossible. Bin keeping the pressure on here in the mid lane, does have his hop interrupted there by the decimating smash. However, there's not enough pressure from G2 to really scare him into anything that might even look lethal, as the dragon is alive. Shun's already dealing with that one. Viper's going to help him DPS it down. They still have a little bit less than 1 minute on the Baron to try to continue pressuring the lanes. But again, the Dragon Soul is avoided.
Even though Knight is 0-0-8, he has been monster smurfing on this game, on G2, on his Syndra. And it's looking real difficult now for G2, even though you go, oh, they were so close to the Dragon Soul. Well, it doesn't matter if you're close, because just the early dragons, the individual ones, don't give you a lot of power. It's all about finishing the job, finishing the soul, and BLG has said, nope, you're not going to be able to even get close to the next dragon.
And look at Shun, 7-1-3 on the Pantheon. Even when Bin had his big moment earlier, Shun was following up with him. He's the one who actually got the second kill. Yeah. You talked back in draft about how Pantheon's open. Xin and Vi are already out because of Fearless. He made it through the first half, but then locking this in was clearly the right choice for the BLG squad. Shun now with the Guardian Angel on that Pantheon as well. This can be a double-edged sword sometimes, because as Pantheon, you always want to ult into the back line, and Guardian Angel will let you do that. But sometimes it might let you do it a little bit too much. So we'll see exactly how he wants to place that, exactly how he wants to time that to guarantee another BLG victory. It's 2.5 minutes till Baron. It's a little under 4 minutes until the next Drake. It's a 7,000 gold lead for BLG, as G2 have to try to find some way to bring it back. But Bin's going in after Cap. He tries to escape, but Viper's already got him. It's both carries dead on G2. It's a massacre in mid lane. Labrov and SkewMond get away, but with the carries already down, what is even the play here for G2? BLG are just going to hard force it down mid, and that's a 5-man push. You've got 2 tanks and support Neeko to try to hold on to the Nexus for the next 25 seconds. Knight preparing the orbs, minion wave marching up. There's no Baron, but they have so much damage. Viper is on 3.5 items. Defensive pulverize coming out from On as BrokenBlade tries to step forward, but now he's the one who's going to be scared. Knight gets the execution there with the unleashed power, as BrokenBlade's dead body's not going to be able to clear enough here just yet. Neeko ulti does nothing. Shun is low, but he will not die. SkewMond tries. SkewMond dies. BLG, they take out the remaining 3 as the carries finally respawn. Shun's still at about 400 HP, and they need another minion wave. It's Caps and Hans versus the BLG 5, as Caps has to try to get back to the fountain. So much damage coming in, he will escape back to the steps, but it's the Nexus turrets that they've got to be afraid of. Scatter the weak onto 2 yet again. BLG are just trying to pad their stats at this point. Ulti does nothing from Caps. That's another BLG win. They are on match point in this best of 5.
Woo! G2 have not been able to beat BLG at an international Riot tournament yet. And BLG say it's probably not going to happen today either.